Hi, everyone. We are live. Welcome to everyone on YouTube. Welcome to everyone on Twitch. And I will ask Colin to make us live on Twitter. Welcome.
Welcome. All right, just popped up on my YouTube. There we go.
Tomorrow or Saturday is International Colin Tooley Day. That is the day that Colin is joining Status Quo. Not full time because we can't use that terminology technically, but he will be joining us. He's put in his 2 weeks notice at his full-time job. Let's say that. So very, very excited for International Colin Tooley Day. Smash the like button if you are on YouTube. Do whatever you're supposed to do on Twitch. I wish that there were some similar sort of thing on Twitch. There should be some like button on Twitch to show
there is a heart button, isn't there?
Is there? If there's a heart button, do whatever. Oh, Leslie wants to know where your hat is, Tina. We were just talking
that was just Medicare for All. So I'm laughing. Yeah, so a bunch of people thought, I guess I was being a revolutionary. That was for Medicare for All. So I was supporting the Red Berets for Medicare for All activist group yesterday. They basically create Red Berets, they knit them, they make them out of felt, and then they sell them on their website, and the money goes to fund their activism. They're fighting for single-payer healthcare in the state of Washington, and also obviously that affects the rest of the country if they get that passed. So I was trying to just give them some acknowledgement and support so people would learn about their organization yesterday. But I inadvertently didn't consider the fact that that's also the hat that a revolutionary wears, which is fine. I'm good with that. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should get a permanent Red Beret.
Yeah, I like it. It was very, very cool, very catching. Especially because we had quite the live stream yesterday.
Yeah, the tech issues were
the glitching. It's funny because we were reporting on Bill Gates and his disgusting stance on sharing vaccine patents, which, of course, if you guys didn't see yesterday, he, spoiler alert, does not want to share vaccine patents.
No, because he's profiting off of it. His foundation is, yeah.
Yes. So I'm sure you guys could have guessed that. But as we were reporting on that, my camera started glitching, which is was really, great timing. Just as we were reporting on Bill Gates, it was crazy lines and things like that. And then I switched to my just my built-in laptop camera, and that
went black.
Froze, and then it went
that's right, totally it froze
to black square. So just like tongue in cheek, just to be silly, I cut immediately this video, and I popped it up on YouTube, and most people got it. Like I put up this WTF, like we were reporting on Bill Gates, and then this happened, like we got glitches. And most people got it, thought it was a joke, like a weird joke and a weird coincidence, which it is. It's a weird coincidence.
Oh God, now you started conspiracy theory.
But then some people took it so seriously, but in the way that was like, you're supposed to be real journalists and people are going to take you seriously. And how could you put this up? I thought you were real journalists, and you are like,
it was a joke. It was hilarious.
Smirching the name of Status Quo. It's like, okay, like take a chill pill, relax a little bit. We're
kidding.
Report on really serious topics here. We're allowed to have a little bit of fun, okay? It's a funny coincidence. Relax here, okay?
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, so it was funny. It was a funny coincidence. So
Leslie, I'm going with yes. Did you hear? She's talking about Bill Gates' divorce. Did you hear that in his settlement, apparently he's been seeing his girlfriend a weekend out of every year as part of, I don't know, some agreement that they had? I don't know. It's crazy. But I mean, there's a certain level to that, what you're saying, Leslie. Also, she said she doesn't need alimony, but I'm wondering, that's probably because you've had such wealth benefit as a side thing from being married to him for so years. Why would that even figure into the conversation, right?
There was some news today that I didn't thoroughly look at, but he went to some island, and apparently the family wasn't thrilled about that, right before this announcement. So that.
What do you mean, some island? We need more information on that.
I can look it up. Bill Gates island family.
Like, is there something more nefarious afoot here? What's the implication of that? Or is it just
okay? So I guess we can do unserious news before, as people trickle in. So
exactly, this is unserious news.
Okay, so let's do unserious news first. Let's go to TMZ for the hard-hitting stuff. So Bill Gates' family furious at him during secret trip ahead of divorce. The Bill and Melinda divorce has been a done deal for months, TMZ has learned. And they had a plan to announce it back in March. A plan that included renting a remote private island where the entire family, with one big exception, could avoid the media once the announcement was made. Our sources say Melinda Gates rented Calviny Island in Grenada. Yes, she rented the entire island for $132,000 a night. Yeah, so for those who are saying, oh, Melinda Gates is probably the hero in this scenario.
Yeah, no. I don't think so. No, she's definitely not. Sometimes there's no good players in a thing, right? Sometimes both sides are bad.
Right. Yeah. So the plan was for Melinda and the kids, as well as their significant others, to come to the island. Everyone except Bill. We're told everyone in the family already knew Bill and Melinda were divorcing. There was a considerable amount of acrimony associated with the split, and we're told virtually everyone in the family took Melinda's side. Another way of putting it...
Well, there's our answer then. Yes. You've done something so evil now that the rest of the family's like, yeah, dude, Bill, bridge too far. I'm actually dying to know what the bridge too far, though, is. Let's be honest.
Right? I really want to know.
My bridge too far with that guy happened eons ago. So, what was the ultimate bridge too far?
Back in the 90s. Yeah. We're told that they were very angry at Bill, and that's why he wasn't invited. The reason for going to the island, so no one from the media could reach them and ask about the split when it was announced during their stay. But there was a problem. Lawyers for both Bill and Melinda were trying to hash out a divorce settlement, and there were still outstanding issues that couldn't be resolved at the time of the trip. We're told Melinda decided to go anyway, well, with everyone but Bill. So here's the takeaway. First, we're told this was not a friendly split. We're told Melinda and most of the family were furious at Bill for various things they claim he had done. Second, it's clear this divorce had been a long time in the making. And finally, it appears they have all but reached a property settlement, given the lawyers have been working on it for months, and Bill transferred nearly $2 billion in stock to Melinda on the very day she filed for divorce. These things are not done piecemeal. It would almost certainly have been part of a global settlement. So I got it wrong. I thought Bill had escaped to the island, but I guess not. So
no, everybody else is run away.
In any case, it's it seems like there's a book to be written, Melinda Gates, if you're listening. Just saying. Not that she needs the money, but we all need to know what's happened. What we need to know. We're dying to know.
We need to know what the bridge too far was.
Yeah. So, by the way, so people are asking about this girlfriend. All I know about the girlfriend is that he was dating her before he was dating Melinda. And when I guess they broke up, but they stayed close. And then when he wanted to marry Melinda or was thinking about marrying Melinda, he made a pro and con list. And he asked the girlfriend, the ex-girlfriend, if she thought it was a good idea to marry Melinda. And she said, yeah, she's smart. It sounds like a good idea.
This is so weird.
But yeah, he made this pro con list, and what a weird guy. And so yeah, part of the agreement was that he could go on this vacation with this girlfriend, and according to the girlfriend, on their annual vacations they read textbooks together. So, that's what people do on vacation.
Hey man, whatever floats your boat. No judgment from me.
So So welcome to everyone coming in here. If you're just joining us, you've come in on the unserious part of the stream. We definitely have some very serious topics to cover. Smash the like button if you're watching on YouTube. Do whatever you're supposed to do on Twitch. I hear there might be a heart button. Follow us on Twitch if you haven't already. Subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. We're seeing some massive YouTube suppression today, and boy, do I have a YouTube story for you.
I think we should start with that because also
of the list for sure. Okay. It's horrible.
Also, did you see they put out that survey this morning for creators, which I was like,
no,
this doesn't end well for YouTube.
No, I did not see the survey. What, did they email it to people?
Actually, it was on the top of my account when I logged in. I'm wondering if they cherry picked who they sent this to then.
I didn't see any survey.
They already know how you feel, Jen.
They sure do. I have not heard back from my pointed email.
Stop cyberbullying the police, Jen.
Yeah, you'll see. You guys will see. Apparently, we're cyberbullying and harassing. I don't know who, but you'll see. Thank you for starting us off with the super chats today, Leslie Wheeler. $5. Hey, before everything gets going, can we speculate about the Gates' divorce? Do you think he finally became too evil for his wife? Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about maybe why they got divorced. So maybe they're definitely, there's a spectrum of evil. So maybe it is the case that he got a little bit too carried away with his evilness. Maybe it's the case that he did say.
Do you mean in regards to his greed and being a member of the Platonomy and not caring about poor people, like that sort of thing? Or do you mean something other? I'm curious by evil. Like, I need a definition of that.
It could be. She's said, I don't know how she feels about vaccine patents, but she has said that we need to make the COVID vaccine, globally available. And she has, gone on record in interviews about that sort of thing. So maybe this is total speculation. Maybe she does feel differently than he does on certain issues. And he's a real, a real jerk off. So
he's a jerk.
It's very possible. And from that TMZ interview, it seems like the entire family is not happy with him. So there could be various personal issues, personal things he has done. And he's known in business, in his company and by those who work with him to be just a total jerk, ruthless. Just not a nice guy. So I'm sure that he carries that in his home life as well.
Absolutely.
So
in the steel cage match between Bill Gates and Dan Price, my money's on Dan Price.
Dan Price is great. I really wish that all CEOs were like Dan Price.
We need to get Dan Price on the show.
Yeah, I would love
Dan Price, come on our show. I'm a fan of Dan Price. He is so on point.
He's great. I honestly can't remember if Jordan's interviewed him or not. I'll have to.
He should. And for folks that don't know who Dan Price is, he's a CEO of a tech company in Washington State, who basically decided that he didn't like the way the capitalist system was functioning. And now the minimum wage at his firm is somewhere around $75K a year. There's absolutely nobody at the firm that makes less than that.
Yeah.
And he's also become quite the advocate for Medicare for all. Obviously he argues from the small business point of view that it's very burdensome for the businesses to function if they have to pay for health insurance all the time, which is costly, and then expect their employees to also pay out of pocket for co-pays and deductibles and what have you. And he sees it as a more efficient outcome if it's taken care of by the government as a universal plan. He can actually put that money into giving his employees even bigger pay and more pay and bonuses and what have you. So if you don't follow Dan Price, you should follow him on Twitter. He's amazing, doing amazing things, I think.
Yeah, he's very inspirational, I would say. And I did see someone say that going back to Bill Gates, that's not our business about their divorce. I have to say, they're public figures and they put themselves in a position, especially Bill Gates, of being moral authorities on various issues.
Absolutely, they
So
have. By pretending that their foundation is anything less than philanthro capitalism, where they've been profiteering through it and trying to look like the good guys. I agree with you. I have no problem with taking these folks to task on anything that they do corruption wise. Now, as far as personal relationship goes, sexual, whatever else, agree, that's not of interest. But there is a public interest aspect here, in my opinion.
Yeah. So as far as, I mean, I don't know. I have to say I am interested in why they got a divorce as far as 100%, because they're dealing with issues of, because they have, you know, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That's always been of interest to me, for example, because they purport to be one thing. They purport to be these great philanthropists, and we know that that is not exactly the truth, or even anywhere close to the truth. And so they're this couple that's presented this one thing, and now of course it's interesting to me why they're divorcing now. What's happened? They're not the power couple. They're not this philanthropic, like haloed
member of society. Yeah,
that's
good in the world.
So what happened? Does she disagree with his stances on things? Have they split morally? I'm very interested. I'm fascinated. I fully admit that. It's okay if people disagree with me. I will read TMZ about all day long. No shame in it for me in admitting that. So I'm fine with you guys disagreeing. Wonderful point, Beauty and the Diabetes. Text COUP to 370370 to be notified when we go live. As you've noticed, you cannot rely on YouTube to tell you. Twitch is much better about it, but even if you're watching us on Twitch, go ahead and do it. You never know when Twitch will stop with the notifications. YouTube used to tell people when we were live, when others were live. So text COUP to 370370. And yes, thank you guys with a better memory than myself. My memory is nowhere near what it used to be. I had doctor's appointments today with not super results with my health issues, which you guys are apprised of. So I will rely on you guys to be my memory. So yes, but we hope to have Dan Price on again for sure. So
yeah, no, he's an interesting guy. I just think he's doing really interesting things up there. And, you know, his point should be well taken by every other business person out there if they really want to save capitalism. What we're doing right now is untenable. If that's your goal, it's not necessarily my goal. So I'm speaking of people that want to save capitalism. If you don't start putting more money in the hands of consumers, it's done. We cannot continue down the road we're on.
Yeah. Okay, guys, I think it's time to let you know about YouTube. Maybe you saw on Twitter today. Maybe you saw if you were looking at Jordan's account. Top secret, Jordan's not actually tweeting on his account right now. He's on his honeymoon. But so that more people would see it, I tweeted it from Jordan's account. I was so mad. I went to YouTube the first thing this morning, right before, yes, Chris Wynn, YouTube. Right before, YouTube? That's what Jordan calls it, YouTube. Right before my doctor's appointment this morning, which I already didn't want to do.
Or how about this one? Fuck you, Tube.
Yeah, that's what they're saying to us. That's what they're saying to us. So right before my doctor's appointment, which I already did not. Oh yeah, Dave D. I thought Jordan was being bad and tweeting during his honeymoon. No, it's all me. Jordan's actually not even checking his email. He's being really good.
He's being really good.
He's being excellent about his. He's on good behavior. So I've talked to him. He's having a good time. He has a really hard time letting go and detaching, and he's doing a good job of doing that. So he's having a good time. He's exploring, Native American ruins and relaxing by the pool and having a good relaxing time. So anyway, side note. So if you see things from Jordan's accounts, it's me. So anyway, right before my doctor's appointment, not in a good mood, not wanting to go. I go to YouTube to publish a video, and at the top of our dashboard, what do I see? I see a a little message that we have had yet another video taken down from our account. If you guys have followed along with us since maybe about December or maybe February, yeah. So not a strike, Beauty and the Diabetes, but a takedown. So we've since after the Capitol insurrection footage, we've had several, probably in the range of 10 by now, videos taken down. And so we were appealing them and saying, no, you guys are absolutely insane. There's nothing wrong with we're journalists. We're capturing what's going on. And so they were taking down our footage of the Capitol insurrection and, interviews with Trump supporters and things like that. We're journalists. We interview people. We
don't agree with, exactly.
We document, like that's what we do. So today I go into the account, and this time what they've taken down is beyond absurd, just beyond imagination. Because I spent an entire day last month, I think it was, taking down anything that I thought just preemptively.
Marginal.
They gave us a warning the last time, because as I said, we used to be appealing and saying, no, you guys are crazy, this is nuts. And no, they kept just saying like, no, we're not going to reinstate this video. But the latest time that we appealed it, they gave us a warning to our appeal. And they said, if you do this again, you're going to get a strike. And a strike would mean basically a 7-day ban from uploading and using our channel. So we freaked out and essentially I hate to say it, but we felt like we had to self-censor.
Right.
And not it's not like we self-censored in that we stopped reporting or we started hiding all of our reporting or we changed what we were doing. No, we used all of our other channels and continued doing exactly what we were doing.
Right.
But as far as YouTube, the platform, I went through and Colin went through and we took down anything that could even potentially be on YouTube's radar to be taken down. So I spent a ton of time. I removed videos that had hundreds of thousands of views just because I wanted to save the channel. And why is that? Because if our channel goes, so does reporting on Flint. So does reporting on, Breonna Taylor's, the interview that Jordan did with Bianca Austin, Breonna Taylor's aunt, the original investigative reporting that Jordan and I did knocking on 500 doors in Flint, that goes too. So the people who yelled at us for taking down preemptively videos, that is because we don't want that reporting to get lost too. So
Right.
It hurt. Yeah, it hurt to take down that reporting, but we felt that's what we had to do while we play the long game in fighting YouTube in the background. And so that's exactly what we're doing. We are fighting YouTube in the background and publicly as well. So anyway, what they took down today, Colin, the great Colin Tooley, made a wonderful compilation of our reporting from 2020. And this compilation, it was about 12 minutes long, and it included our reporting from Black Lives Matter protests, George Floyd protests. Tina's reporting was included in that from LA. My reporting from DC, when I was attacked by police and my phone, when my phone kept streaming without me, when I was mugged in New York City by the racist, Jordan's interview with Breonna Taylor's aunt, my interviews
Ilhan
with
Omar, right?
Yeah, my interviews with Ilhan Omar and Pramila Jayapal and Rashida Tlaib, Jordan's reporting from Iowa and mine from Nevada. I'm trying to think of everything. It was
a solid compilation. There was nothing wrong with anything in it. Nothing.
Yeah. It was,
Nothing.
watching that compilation always made me tear up and feel so proud of what we had done and accomplished. We are a very small channel. We have limited resources. All of our resources come from you guys, the viewers, and we're proud of that. We are answerable only to you guys, the viewers. And YouTube took that down today. And not only did they take it down, they took it down saying they took it down for harassment and cyberbullying. What are they talking about?
What? They're high. I have to laugh because it's so absurd. There was nothing in their remote. And like, who are we cyberbullying? Who? The police by reporting on their brutality at protests? That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, so it's infuriating. So let me show you.
It's beyond infuriating. It's just, this has now reached just a level of stupid I can't wrap my head around.
So this is the message. This is exactly the message that was in our dashboard.
Let's read this because it's wild. I was like, what the hell am I reading right now? This is unbelievable.
This is this is the screenshot that I took right from our dashboard. So you can see this is this was the video. It's 12 minutes 37 seconds long. This is just a still from the video. This is Jordan interviewing a Trump supporter at I think we were in Wisconsin for this. He pushed back on the Trump supporter, of course, and Status Quo editor Colin Tooley edited a montage of Status Quo's in the field reporting from 2020. So this was the screen to submit an appeal. I did not do so because the last time we submitted an appeal for a video they took down, they gave us a warning. And they said,
so you go through their system, like they say to you, do this if you think it's wrong, and then they punish you for doing it.
Yeah.
Which is even more outrageous. So you tell me they're not trying to stop you from submitting an appeal by giving you a warning the last time. And I'm sure they're doing this across the board with every channel. That's outrageous behavior. That is absolutely outrageous. It's disingenuous. It's bad faith.
Oops, I was trying to make it larger and it made it smaller. So the reason that they gave us, it says harassment and cyberbullying. Content glorifying or inciting acts of violence is not allowed on YouTube. We review educational, documentary, artistic, and scientific content on a case-by-case basis. Limited exceptions are made for content with sufficient and appropriate context and where the purpose of posting is clear. I am baffled.
It's ridiculous.
Just so baffled. So we have had this running email thread with a YouTube worker named Beth. And this is one of many email threads that we have had with YouTube over the years. So this one I wrote, "Hi Beth, upon logging into our YouTube channel dashboard today, we were met with yet another completely astonishing removal. This is an outright assault on independent journalism. The removed video is a compilation of our fearless, historical, independent journalism from 2020, featuring reporting on the police murder of Breonna Taylor, challenging the horrific conspiracies and lies of Trump and his supporters, covering police brutality in George Floyd protests, including our own journalists getting actively beaten by police for doing so, powerful interviews with sitting members of Congress, and more. Yet YouTube has seen it fit to remove this compilation for harassment and cyberbullying. Beth, you are an intelligent person, and I believe someone who is acting in good faith. I do hold on to that hope. This is about 100 bridges too far, even for YouTube. You believe in the importance of giving the microphone to the people of this country and reporting what's actually going on, right? You believe in capturing and documenting history, even if we don't have the letters CNN or MSNBC in our name, right? I have to believe that's the case. So please advise on this latest bit of insanity from your employer. Thank you." And so what Jordan tweeted, what I tweeted, YouTube's removed another Status Quo video citing harassment and cyberbullying. This is a disgrace. This video is a compilation of hard-hitting 2020 reporting on Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, interviews with Ilhan, Rashida Tlaib, Pramila Jayapal, etc. So that is, this is the way that we have been able to get YouTube's attention, is by tweeting and getting other people to tweet. The only way to get their attention has been getting people like Matt Taibbi to write articles about it, getting Fox News to write articles about it. Getting public attention has sadly been the only way to get YouTube to pay any attention at all. So I don't know what the answer will be. So I don't know. I see some questions. Who is Beth? Beth is just a YouTube worker who has given us bullshit answers in the past, and she has admitted that they give precedence to CNN, etc. When
they absolutely do. They protect those channels. I know this for a fact. I've been told this too by YouTube staff. Yeah, MSNBC, CNN, these channels, they're not exposed to the algorithm or any of it whatsoever. They can basically upload whatever they want and nobody checks anything.
Absolutely.
So obviously YouTube is not applying their policies across the board fairly. And what I'm bothered by, especially with the commentary that came from the CEO about, people making videos in their basement, the implication of what she's stating is that there's some level of veracity attached to being CNN, which is bullshit. You could have a commitment to veracity if you're CNN. You could have a commitment to veracity if you're making content in your basement, or vice versa. You could have zero commitment to veracity in either position. This has got nothing to do with reporting the truth. So if they're going to put a lens on something, shouldn't it be something that matters? i.e., are we reporting the truth? That should be the lens that journalism is viewed through. And it's not. She's not doing that, is she? It's infuriating to me. It's like, what are you doing? You're saying that just because somebody works at Fox News that they're going to be more honest? Get out of here. That's just absurd.
She's the one who outright said, when we pointed out that NBC and CNN literally purchased our footage and continue to use it, the same videos that they're taking down on our account, that, yes, we allow them to post those things, but you guys cannot. That's a paraphrase.
It's fucking outrageous bullshit.
Yeah. So Michael Cooper says Jenna's way too nice there. So I have a different, if it was Jordan writing the email, it would have a different flavor, but I'm waiting to see what Beth writes back. And I might unleash a little bit more fury. But you have to dance a little bit with these folks, because we have noticed, and we have an outright pattern, with graphs and things, literally, when we have called out YouTube, specifically when Jordan has called out YouTube, because, he's a verified blue check on Twitter and he has many, many followers, we've been throttled. There are direct human-led consequences to calling out YouTube. So
they're too powerful for their own good.
Absolutely. I truly believe that they need to be regulated, and I think that it's very important that they are regulated. And a lot of people are.
Or here's the other thought: why did the creators reject unionization 5 or 6 years ago? And maybe that's something we should revisit.
Yeah, I do think that is an interesting, concept or point. I think that would be a helpful thing. I have heard some rumblings of that still being a possibility. And a lot of people do ask, why don't you just go to Panquake, or why don't you just go to Rockfin, or why don't you just do XYZ?
Well, we do both. I mean, don't get us wrong. If any one of those other platforms really takes off, I'm all for it. I'm on Rockfin, Status Quo's on Rockfin.
Yeah.
I don't know Panquake. That's a new one on me, but.
Right. So I have different thoughts about all of that. And as Tina said, we are on a bunch of different platforms. We're on Twitch, and we're actively trying to grow our presence on Twitch. We are going live on Twitter right now. We are, I think, live on Rockfin right now.
Yeah.
At least I selected that on StreamYard.
Hopefully it's working, but yes.
Right. So, but the fact is, YouTube is the king here. And if we want our reporting to get out to as many people as possible, it's shooting ourselves in the foot to just say, okay, I'm just going to go live on Panquake right now. Great. So what does that do?
So
what does that do for us?
Yeah, let me point something out on the consumer side too. The reason YouTube is so powerful is because it's owned by Google, right? So if you guys want to change the way this stuff is going down, stop using Google products. Meaning, if the reason YouTube is so much more popular is because if you use Chrome or any of the Google products, they automatically are going to place premium search response on their own products, right? So if you Google into their search engine, Breonna Taylor, blah, 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 you're not going to get Rockfin, Panquake, or even Twitter in the first 5 returns, right? They're going to be YouTube videos. That's by design, right? That's by design. So it's a monopoly that extends further than just the video platform. So as consumers, what I would recommend, and I don't use Google products. I do not have a Google. I have 2 iPhones, actually. This one that I use for communicating. I have a second iPhone that I use for apps and video streaming because I'm incredibly paranoid about my personal information and my communications. I use Signal on here for texting. But don't use any of the Google products anymore. Switch to DuckDuckGo, switch to Tor. Get away from the Google app stuff. It drives me nuts when people send me Google app stuff. Don't send me your video links with Google, whatever the hell that shit is, a Hangout or whatever. There are a million other products out there that you could be using. So empower yourselves by using them. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, Tina gets upset with me because I use Chrome. But
I do.
All of my
they spy, Jen, because they spy on you. Here's the other thing.
I know, but I think they all do.
But they don't. Okay, so iPhone we know doesn't. Look, iPhone has other problems. I'm not doing a full defense. Yeah. I'm not doing a full defense of them as a corporation. Believe me, they're shitty too. But my point is this: at least I know. Do I spend more money buying this beat up device? It's been through too many protests, as you can see. Yes. What I don't have on here though is if you go into my phone, you won't see a bunch of apps on here. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because I don't want anybody to be able to backdoor my Fourth Amendment rights. Mm-hmm. I use Signal. I communicate through Signal on this device, and there is no Facebook, there is no YouTube, there is none of that stuff on this.
Yeah, phone. Facebook is.
So, you know how they got Khashoggi? Through a backdoor. They have software called Pegasus through a backdoor. So my problem is this: if you're not doing that sort of stuff, and you are communicating with somebody that could potentially have issues, they can backdoor through other apps. They can backdoor through Facebook into your data, right? So especially if you have a Google Android phone. So stay the fuck away from that stuff if you have any desire to keep your Fourth Amendment and your First Amendment rights secure. And that's not conspiracy theory. That's all solidly supportable things that I just said. Pegasus is the software that they use to infiltrate Khashoggi's phone. And it was done through an activist, through him texting with an activist. That's really an unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
And look, the DOJ tries to get these information through FISA courts all the time. In fact, they just try to get all Signal's user data, and Signal basically told them to go fuck themselves because they don't store any of that data. But it's not as if they're not going to try. That's
an interesting article that we'll have to share that at some point because that's fascinating. But there's a lot of interesting theories like Yasha Levine doesn't trust Signal, and obviously
okay, I would love to talk to Yasha about that. I wonder why. I do trust Signal, but maybe he has a good reason not to. I don't know, but what other apps are there?
Right. Yeah, that's why it's so it's confusing. Okay. So before we get too far off into tangent land here, I just want you guys to know that we're gonna keep fighting. We're gonna keep fighting this battle. We're going to keep it up with YouTube. We're not going to just stop. It's a matter of playing playing it right. Everyone has an opinion, and this is something that happened last time. The last time we had a big round of our content being taken off, it was a flurry of people saying, okay, just get off, just do this, that, or the other. Silence is violence. Yeah, we're on Odyssey. We're doing backups on Odyssey. You know, and that's the thing. It's the answer is not easy, and we're doing the best we can. And I think it is so important for us to, and also for smaller creators and journalists as well, to be able to use our voice, to be able to use our connections with Matt Taibbi, for example, right, to be able to use our connections with the Fox News writer and journalist, to be able to use the connections that we have to raise a fuss about this and make this a fight that maybe we can win. YouTube is a real giant, and maybe we won't win, but we have to try, right? And that's the truth with anything. It's a real fight for Medicare for all. Not that this is the same kind of battle. It's a real fight for socialism. It's a real fight for against capitalism. Everything that matters is a real fight. And in my opinion, real independent journalism is a fight that matters. And that compilation, that 2020 compilation, and I don't know if we have it in other spots. I know we have a real short version of it that I put up somewhere, but the full one I don't know. But that compilation matters so much, and I'm gonna fight for it. So stay tuned. We will not give up. And that's the thing that Jordan and I were talking about last month at some point. He was feeling really, really down, and he wouldn't mind me saying so, incredibly down. And he was saying, what are we going to do? You know, we're being throttled at every point. It's, we haven't found a solid investor. We have people are tossing money at outlets like TYT, which doesn't do infield journalism or anything worth doing. And
not anymore.
We struggle. Here we are. We've traveled the country doing incredible journalism that matters on basically off of the incredible support of everyday people like you guys, not off of the wealthy, not off of corporate money, but off of everyday people who care, who are passionate. And that's what we do, and that's what we fight for, and we're the ones who get punished. And so when people don't see our content, when Jordan, who has 115,000 followers on Twitter and 12 people retweet his stuff, that doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense at all. No one sees his stuff. And when we post a video, an important video on YouTube, and no one sees it, and maybe 400 people see it or something on Flint or another important topic, that is painful. When we thrive on membership, and we struggle to get new members because no new people see our stuff. Beauty and the Diabetes says right there, I have to search for Jordan, Jen, and Tina's tweets. We hear that all the time.
I know. I've been having people say that. It's insane.
We still
this is what happens when you piss off corporate America.
Exactly. We still have people who say to Jordan, who knew him from TYT days, saying, "Oh, I didn't know you were still reporting." We've been doing
that's just wild to me.
3 years.
Wow.
So that's what the suppression is. And these are people who loved and respected Jordan's reporting, from Standing Rock, from Flint, and who, would have actively followed him and if they had known about status quo.
Right.
So that's what we're up against. So, if you're able to at all, we're fighting this YouTube suppression. If you can, I really, really ask that you help us out. This video right here, the one that you see is going to come up with nothing. That was the video. That was the video that got taken down by YouTube. So if you're able to support us, to help us.
That is so upsetting.
Yeah. If you're able to help us.
Bullying, there's like, Jen, there's nothing. I mean, I've gone through everything in my brain, and I'm what bullying? There's nothing that's even remotely.
No, it doesn't make sense.
It's insane.
Yeah. So, you know, I know we're all everyday people here, but if you can support us at any amount to fight this fight, to go up against YouTube, which has dramatically decreased our income, dramatically cut our income, GoFundMe.com/status coup, GoFundMe.com/status coup. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see. Oh, we can see the video because. Oh, I can show.
Wait, what?
I'll probably get in trouble.
Can you play it from inside? Oh yeah, don't.
Because
Jen,
I know. Yeah, because I'm logged in to YouTube.
Oh, so yeah.
Yeah. So I
but
can't.
I mean, you can see enough of this where you can.
Now
say,
I'm worried.
What
now
bullying?
I'm worried. So I'm going to move away from this screen because now I'm really worried that they're going to get me in trouble for showing the video. But please go yourself to GoFundMe.com/status coup, and any amount, $5, whatever, it help us fight YouTube. Please, please, please. We had an incredible person help us earlier today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to Jonathan. We really appreciate it. This is what helps us. You can see right here in this still, this is Melissa Mays. This is, we were in Flint on her front porch, this poisoned mother, her poisoned children, her poisoned husband. She's a top fighter in Flint.
Yeah. She's amazing.
This is what they banned. This is what they banned. So please help us. GoFundMe.com/status coup. I'm so upset that I am like scared to even be on that screen because they're insane.
They're insane. And the unfortunate reality is there's little legal recourse because of the terms of their service. You sign that when you automatically agree to them, when you create a channel on YouTube, and the terms of service give them carte blanche to do anything, really. This is why unionization would make sense for the creators.
Yeah. Oh, God. Now that makes me really upset. Okay. So I'm going to move on to other topics that are going to make us all really upset. These are hard topics. Yes, Henry, the 29 Capitol footage is still up. Yeah. Thank goodness. That is very historic footage. That footage was used in congressional testimony. It was used against Donald Trump in the impeachment trial. It was used today in footage in an article from CNN that they arrested a National Guardsman for the insurrection. That footage is used constantly, and these psychos at YouTube just don't care. So, okay, so this is a topic that Tina actually urged me to cover, and it was off of my radar, and I'm glad that you urged me to get this on my radar because it is important, and but I was honestly in tears, Tina, putting this together, and I'm talking, of course, about what's happening in Colombia. If you want to set this up for us.
So, it's unfortunate that a lot of times foreign policy just gets buried under things that are happening here in the United States. But I think this is a really important story, not just because it deals with protesters and police brutality, but also because it's the root of it has to do with income inequality, and it has to do with a right-wing dictator having a response to that by making it worse for poor folks and letting the rich people get away with more. The typical thing that we see across the globe and also here in the United States. So the original protests were really about, they call it tax reform, but it's not tax reform. It's basically, we're going to start taxing goods, and the burden of taxing those goods like food, et cetera, is going to fall heavily on the poorer folks than it does on the wealthy, just by virtue of what that tax is. So let me explain that further. So say we had Bill Gates at the top of the hour. So let's have Bill Gates be our rich guy. And then I'm going to have another guy over here that's making close to minimum wage, living in Los Angeles, right? So let's say his salary is like $35,000 a year. He works full time for that $35,000 a year. He lives in a city where the average rents are $2,300 for a one-bedroom apartment. And then you've got, Bill Gates, who is a billionaire multiple times over. He's got tons of money. He pays nothing in taxes because he has access to things like carried interest. So he gets away with all kinds of things, right? So the cost of food for both of these, the price is the same, right? But the burden of that falls much more heavily on this guy, the guy making $35K a year, simply because he only makes $35K a year. So now if you tax goods, put a tax on goods that are necessary for anybody to survive, i.e. food, and it's not like you can say this is a luxury item, I don't have to buy it. No, you have to buy it. It's food. You need it to survive. So if you start putting taxes on those things, again, that burden falls much more heavily on poorer folks. So when they say they're doing tax reform, but this is what they're doing to raise revenue, they're saying we're going to tax food, and it obviously it affects poor people much more than it does Bill Gates. It's a problem, right? Another solution could simply be to raise the corporate tax rate, to have a higher marginal rate on wealthy people. So every time they're making money past $1 million, that gets taxed at a 60 or 70% rate, like at a higher rate, right? So there are ways to do this that are more fair. And anyone that says that it's about percentages is missing the point, because that's not what makes a tax fair. What makes a tax fair is where the burden falls, right? 60% on a poor guy is a lot. 60% on a rich guy is nothing. And that's never on the first $1 million, right? It's the money past that. So just to be clear, so they're still getting to keep a certain amount of income that's not taxed at the higher rate. All right, so that's a more broader discussion of the problem. Obviously, in Colombia, we need to zero in on what's happening there. So initially, Duque wanted to put taxes on food and a few other things. And he's also talking about cutting social programs. He threatened to cut the social programs if they didn't have tax reform, because he's saying there's no money. The stuff we've heard time and time again, right? And so the people had had enough, so they took to the streets. So the police responded with a lot of violence. They actually were murdering people. They weren't just using less lethal rounds. There's video where they were actually using live rounds and shooting people. And then, so now Duque's come back and said, no, I'm not going to institute these reforms. I'll look at taxing the wealthy as well. Like, so he's kind of taken some of these things back and is having a negotiation now. But now the people are still in the street because they're protesting police brutality, because the police response has been so unbelievably violent. So when I talked with Jen about this, I was like, you need to go look at some of the videos from some of the activists and just some of the people that live there that they're shooting on their phone cameras. And this is why I love social media. You can go onto social media, type in, whatever it is, and see actual footage of what's happening right there in that moment from somebody standing there, right on the ground. So there's some incredibly disturbing things that have been captured in Colombia this week. And I think I just think it's something we should all be paying attention to. And then I think the other aspect of it is, how does the United States foreign policy affect what happens in Colombia? Well, it does. It affects it a lot. We have decades-long situations of where we have intervened with elected governments in not Colombia, not just Venezuela, not just Bolivia, not just Guatemala. Go down the list. We intervene, and we generally want to have somebody in there that's better towards our business interests, that's friendly towards business interests, right? That's the main goal of America. So oftentimes we end up siding with folks that are maybe not of the best, not the kindest humans, let's put it that way. So anyway, a bunch of stuff building up in Colombia. It's coming to fruition. It's coming to head right now. And I think it's something that we should pay attention to as human beings, and maybe, just have some support for your comrades down there fighting the good fight against a plutonomy that's much more destructive than what it is here in the United States, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's an excellent, excellent overview for folks. Oh boy. So
Not to bring the mood
this
down.
is a very difficult, very, very difficult topic, everyone. So
25 people are dead
just beware.
after
I actually am starting off with this piece or this article. I don't even want to call it a piece or an article. I don't know what to call it. It's just terrible. Tina, this will probably make you upset. Just the way that they just the propaganda. I just wanted
to frame it.
Yeah. So 25 dead after 8 days of protests in Colombia. Oh, these ads. 25 people are dead after 8 days of protest in Colombia over a tax overhaul plan meant to cover a gap in spending related to COVID-19. Among the dead are police and protesters who have been clashing for days as public anger grows over rising poverty, unemployment, and inequality. The unrest was born partially out of mass unemployment triggered by pandemic lockdowns as the country experiences its third surge in coronavirus cases.
Oh God. Okay, so you're right. I can't take the framing of this article. It's
It gets worse. Although
people are already living in poverty, headed towards poverty. Yes, there's unemployment, but can we really look at the issue? It's the same with the United States. Was COVID the cause of our income inequality, or was it just the thing that ripped the Band-Aid off, the final straw? Of the problems were already there. The choice is how do we address them? I mean, you could do what Europe does and give a UBI to everybody.
Right.
We could start taxing wealthy people. We could start forcing American corporations to pay their share, their actual tax rates, close the loopholes. I mean, my God.
Right. Okay, get ready to get even.
Oh God, it gets worse.
Great. Although the tax plan was rescinded Sunday, it has done little to quell public protests, which have had at times turned violent, resulting in police being attacked, buses being set on fire, and people looting stores.
Holy shit.
It
sounds like Fox News talking about BLM.
Right. With their violence, they've tried to cut off cities, leaving thousands without work. Colombian President Ivan, what did you say, Duque?
Yeah.
Duque. Colombian President Ivan Duque said about the violent protesters, "Nothing justifies that armed people go out and shoot at defenseless citizens and cruelly attack our police." So that's the part that I am very angry about. There have also been reports of harsh responses by police and government officials. So they're framing it.
I think murdering people is a harsh response. I'm sorry. That's the Hill, shame on you for this nonsense.
They're framing it as if, the same way that they do to Black Lives Matter. They're looting, they're violent. Oh, and the poor police, they're being attacked, and so
just like it is here in the United States, the police are more concerned about protecting private property rights. And also, someone's saying in the chat, if you tax the wealthy in Colombia too much, they're going to leave. You know what? That's just bunk. How many times have they said that about California? That's what they all say to try to preserve their taxes. We're the wealthy ones. We're the job creators. All of that's bullshit at this point. You're not the job creators. You're not. You know what? And if you leave, fine, good riddance. That would be my response to that. Maybe the workers should create their own co-ops and stop serving a plutonymy that they will never be a part of. The wealthy are the problem.
Yeah.
They suck up and extract more wealth from the rest of the system, and they don't return it. They are leeches at this point. How many yachts does one need? 30 yachts? And then they want to complain about the fact that there's no expendable income. Well, that's on you. If you want people to buy the goods you manufacture because it's necessary for your capitalism to flourish, stop starving them. This isn't difficult.
Preach, Tina. Yes. You're right.
But yes, okay, even in the United States, more than 80% of the new wealth that is being created in this country year after year after year has gone to the 1%. What is that money actually doing? It's sitting there.
Yeah.
It's not circulating throughout the rest of the economy. It's just sitting there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, when is it going to be enough? When there's literally nobody left to sell your widgets to, and then you're not going to care because you've stockpiled so much wealth, you won't have to worry about it. But everybody else is going to have to worry about it. Listen, if you want to save capitalism, knock off the bullshit. It's your choices are: I'm going to save capitalism by sharing a decent amount of the production with the workers, or you're going to look at a system that you're not going to like whatsoever that's going to replace it. That's sort of where we're headed, if you ask me. The civil unrest that we're seeing is not going to abate. It's going to increase, and it's going to be far more global than you can imagine.
I think you're 100% correct. Absolutely. Mad World 1962, $5 Canadian. Thank you. People's Dispatch on YouTube and .org has fantastic coverage of international news, including Colombia. Thank you. I'll have to check that out.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah, because I feel like there's not enough on the ground. Like, it'd be great to see a YouTube channel that had like live streamers in all of these various locations showing you. I mean, I would love to watch that. It'd be great because you get the little clips on Twitter, but it's 2 minutes long, right?
Right. Yeah, that would be cool. Like a carousel or something where you could watch a bunch of different streamers. That'd be great. Keep those super chats coming. As we said, YouTube is throttling us and dramatically cutting our income, and it really, really helps. So keep those coming. All right, let's get back into Colombia. I just had to share that crazy bit of not reporting from the Hill with you.
Yeah, that's just cringy. It's just it's your typical mainstream media, and not just mainstream, other people do it too. It's a media response that protects American interests abroad, right?
Exactly. And
we've seen this played out time and time again. I don't think people are buying it as much as they used to, which is a good thing. When you see a story like that, question it. Question what's really going on inside that country.
Well, and that's a really good point, because I think that might be one of the reasons why YouTube and friends are cracking down on journalists like us, is because people are starting to question, corporate outlets like The Hill, and they want that to stop.
100%.
So The Guardian does a little bit better.
They do. Sometimes they get stuff really right. Sometimes they don't get it right. But generally speaking, I think they do an okay job of covering these sorts of things.
Yeah. So this is a little bit more updated as well. Colombia enters second week of violent unrest as police crack down on protests. Let me zoom in a little bit for you guys. Why are we not zooming, computer? I don't know why
also I want to point out something from these photos. Look at how militarized the police are also in Colombia. So this is this is something we're seeing everywhere. We've seen it all over the world. It's not just the United States that this is happening.
Yeah, that's the true RoboCop look for sure. Look at that.
Yeah, Jesus, can you imagine? To be honest, I've seen the Beverly Hills Police Department look close to that.
Jeez. Colombia has entered its second.
I'm not kidding. Remember, I did that report for you guys. Do you remember the tank they rolled down Rodeo Drive? I'll never forget that video. I'm like, holy shit!
It's insanity.
Is that a tank? That's a fucking tank on Rodeo Drive. Wow.
Colombia has entered its second week of violent unrest as riot police continue a brutal crackdown on nationwide protests against poverty and inequality exacerbated by the coronavirus pandemic. So this is the updated.
At least that's already more authentic, though, right?
Right.
They're not blaming COVID-19.
Yeah, they're saying
this already existed. It got worse, and the government did nothing to alleviate it. Sounds familiar, right?
Yeah. As many as 37 people have died in the protests so far, according to Temblores. I don't know if that's. I don't know Spanish, so excuse any pronunciation.
Temblores. That was an okay gringo way.
Sorry, forgive me. A local NGO that monitors police violence, though that number is expected to rise, with at least 89 people reported missing since protests began on the 28th of April. And by the way, I don't believe that this mentions it, but there have also been a lot of rapes and there's a lot of horrible things happening. Fresh clashes broke out on Wednesday night in Bogota and other cities across the country as heavily armored police unleashed their arsenal of flashbangs, tear gas, and water cannons on protesters. In the historic center of
Water
the city,
cannons. Water cannons. Are you kidding me with this? Like,
right?
wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. In the historic center of the city, a group of students took refuge from volleys of tear gas in the pelting rain. We just want the right to protest peacefully, to feel like we have a future, said Maria Jose Lopez, a student, as a platoon of riot police marched by. We are the majority, but they don't listen to us. Elsewhere, demonstrators held candlelight vigils and painted anti-government slogans on the asphalt as people banged pots and pans from their apartment windows above. Demonstrations began over an unpopular tax reform, but have since grown into outbursts of rage over poverty, human rights abuses, and authorities' heavy-handed response to protests. So then it goes over some of the parts that we've already mentioned. Duque and his ministers have at times appeared more concerned with vandalism and attacks on police stations and toll booths than the rising death toll. His government has yet to acknowledge the police's role in the violence. Yes, clearly. Instead attempting to frame the protests as the work of terrorists from dissident rebel groups. While the presidency has announced plans to hold a new national dialogue, this does not seem likely to offer a path out of the current crisis, wrote Elizabeth Dickinson of International Crisis Group, a think tank, in an analysis published on Thursday morning ahead of more planned marches. The authorities focus on treating the protest movement as a law enforcement problem, and the accumulation of grievances leave little hope for peaceful resolution in the short term. And so protesters talk about, why would they trust the government? And they're used to the lies. So there's also the continuation of the pandemic. So there's a lot going on, and thankfully the Guardian did a little bit of a better job there.
A much better job, really. I mean, that Hill article was ridiculous.
It was quite ridiculous.
Have they been watching the Twitter videos, for Pete's sake? Come on now. Oh, Democracy Now!
I'm sure that they have been watching them. They just do not care.
Yeah, they just do not care.
Okay, so this is the one I think there's one that I have to be careful about. This might be it.
I've seen this one, yes. He was very injured.
Okay, so there's one where it's not as bad, and there's one that is bad.
I think it's okay, Jen.
Okay, so just a warning. I don't think this is the one that is as bad as the other one that I saw. Just a warning, just in case some of these videos might be quite graphically gory. There's a lot of horrible violence happening, a lot of horrible murders, at the hands of these police. So just beware. Don't watch if you're triggered by that, or if you don't take well to that sort of thing. It's really bad. So this vibrant person, this vibrant protester, was murdered. So this is a telesaur.
¡Nos están matando en Colombia!
Yeah, okay, so that is definitely not
that's not the violent one
that I was worried, concerned about. Let's see. Okay, so this one is disturbing. Beating children and women. just disgusting people. How can you be like that? This is the same guy. See, this might be the concerning one. This might be the one that's less concerning. No, this is the same gentleman.
Están matando en Colombia.
Los zapatos, el fuego lo derretió y las pesadillas no duermen porque piensan en mí. Hoy puedo ver lo que el otro no vio y los pongo a rezar aunque no crean.
Okay, this gets, you're welcome to watch it on your own, but the rest of the images get very, very gory. So he was murdered.
He was murdered by the police, yeah.
Yeah. So
actually there's a video of just that scene on Twitter.
Yeah. It's horrible. You know, there are a lot of videos, but we'll get to why there are not enough, actually.
People who filmed this are now getting depressed. The people who filmed.
So here's what I'm talking about when I say there are a lot of videos, a lot of very shocking videos about what's happening in Colombia, but there's also this fact. Colombia is being censored.
They get shut off. Yep.
Yeah.
I noticed that
Instagram,
yesterday.
Facebook, and Twitter are deleting posts and cutting the sharing range. If you're outside of Colombia, please share what's happening here. Police are attacking civilians. We're being shut down, and we need international backup. So you can see she's shared that stuff is being deleted. Can you translate this stuff? Oh, she did, I guess. If they're killing in cities in front of all the cameras, what did they do to our farmers all these years with nobody noticing?
Not available in Colombia. You know, 7 years of Spanish, you think I'd be much more fluent than I am.
Yeah, I don't know any.
And the worst, my Spanish is better than my Swedish, so there you go.
This one, I thought I saved the English version of this one.
Which one?
Oh, shoot. There was an English translation of this, like an actual one, and not just the one that said translate.
Oh, the interview?
Yeah, there was someone had quote tweeted this, but I don't know. Sorry about that, guys.
En estos momentos, Palo Blanco es una zona de guerra. 25 de mayo. 25 de mayo, 2021. Palo Blanco es una zona de guerra. ¡Ayuda! 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 En estos momentos.
So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a short summary, I guess you could say. There's obviously a lot to it. There are a lot of videos that you can go find. Just search for Colombia protests on any of the options: Instagram, Twitter.
Somebody
TikTok.
In the chat was saying TikTok had some, so
yeah,
maybe
TikTok does as well. Yeah. So it's a lot of disturbing stuff, though, when they are able to get things out. And I don't know. I don't know. Where does it go from here, Tina? What do you think? You think it's going to escalate?
I just think this is the beginning of this is the beginning of a global revolution. Not the beginning. We've been in a state of sort of revolution for a while now. But I don't think, like, here's the thing is our economic problems aren't isolated. We're very much intertwined now more so than we ever have been because capital doesn't stay in one country. Capital is international and has been for decades now, right? So the wealthy elites are in the same group no matter what country you're in, right? The plutonomy transcends, country lines, state lines. The plutonomy is the plutonomy. And they will do anything to maintain their power, right? And that's and because our economy is so global, we're all in this together, so to speak. So I don't know. I mean, maybe we have areas where it tapers down and comes back, but I think we've entered a phase of revolution where there's no turning back the clock at this point. I don't know where that leads us, but I don't see it dissipating, Jen. I just don't. I mean, unless the rich people decide to all of a sudden say like, hey, it'd be like Dan Price and say, hey, you know what? Raising the salaries of everybody, UBI, everybody gets 1,000, 1,200, whatever. I mean, they could theoretically do those things. I just don't see it happen. It's like, I hate to bring back this interview again, but I often find myself going back to the Tom Steyer interview I did because he is part of those wealthy elites and he is a very wealthy man. And I asked him about this and he said point blank, no, they're not going to wake up. We're going to have to force them. They're greedy. They're going to stay greedy and they will hold on to their money as long as they possibly can. So, because I was asking Tom, like at some point they're going to realize there's no expendable income. They're going to want to do something to save their precious capitalist system. Right. And he said, nope, they're not. They're going to they will take it to the end of the road. So is that where we're at? Late stage capitalism is definitely where we're at. I think and have been for quite some time now. So what does that cycle look like? How long does that cycle take? I don't know, but we're definitely in that cycle.
Yeah, I agree. Very, very disturbing. And I have to say, I don't have good news for you in the next story either. No. It's no good news, but that's par for the course, I guess. Maybe you've heard it's in our headline, but the cop who murdered Rayshard Brooks, a council in, where did I put it?
This is just mind-numbing.
Atlanta, decided that he was let go wrongly, which is just absolutely absurd. I want to do kind of a refresher because there are honestly so many police murders of Black people. I want to remind everybody of this specific case.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a
because
shame.
It just kind of it shows how ridiculous this ruling is. Are you kidding me? Wrongly terminated.
Yeah.
Wow.
The killing of Rayshard Brooks, Atlanta police shoot dead unarmed man who fell asleep in his own car. So if you'll recall, this was not too far away from George Floyd and during the ongoing protests for George Floyd. And there was a great kind of uprising of protests at the same time in Atlanta. And I'm sure that if you don't recall the exact specifics, that you'll soon remember. This was back in June of 2020. So, when it happened back then. Protests have erupted in Atlanta, where the police killing of unarmed African-American man Rayshard Brooks in a Wendy's parking lot has outraged residents. The autopsy revealed that Brooks was shot in the back as he was running away, and the death has been ruled a homicide by the county medical examiner. Brooks's killing comes as protests against racism and police violence continue across the country. The Atlanta police chief has already resigned, and the officer who shot Brooks has been fired. What we saw happen to Mr. Brooks is unfortunately something that we continue to see repeated in our communities all across this country, says Mary Hooks, co-director of Southerners on New Ground, which is part of the National Bailout Collective and the movement for Black lives. What we continue to see is police being called in as first responders to things that they should not be showing up for.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So that's Democracy Now!, which always has great summaries. Amy Goodman there. And I'll show you just some of my reporting actually from DC to show you kind of what the vibes were when this happened last summer. This was in DC, the ongoing protests for George Floyd, and then Rayshard Brooks was, of course, murdered.
7 p.m., then whatever happens after that, you deserve. And so
I'll just kind of scroll through.
I was right there.
Okay, so what you just heard was the protesters are going to shut down 495. That is the plan. It sounds like it'll be quite a long walk. I'm actually not sure how long, but we're here for it. So please smash the like button. There's the Air and Space Museum.
If you weren't already kings. Anybody else got something to say? Amen.
Hi, I'm from Ethiopia, and Nugus means king, and Nugust means queen. Y'all are Nuguses and Negastats.
No justice? No justice? Y'all know the agenda? We're walking.
Detracting from. I'm conflicted on reporting it. Or. So here they've shut down a major highway in DC.
Now, because I'm gonna teach y'all a civil rights song that was written in the 70s. It's called Ella's song. It's called "We Who Believe in Justice Cannot Rest." We who believe in justice cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in justice cannot rest, cannot rest. We who believe in justice cannot rest until it comes. Y'all think y'all got that? Okay, let's go. We who believe in justice cannot rest, cannot rest. We who believe in justice cannot rest until it comes. Y'all got it? We who believe in justice cannot rest, cannot rest. Back. We who believe in justice cannot rest until it comes. One more time. We who believe in freedom cannot rest, cannot rest.
Thorn. Was an active Black Lives Matter protester in California. Excuse me, in Florida.
All power to the people. Power to the people. I'm going to deliver the same message every night, hoping that everybody gets it. The elders are very, very proud of you. You need to know that. We are getting ready to start a biker-thon where we will be going through the hood on bikes. Not walking, but steadily talking. We haven't set a date, but if you continue to come down here, the brother will give you the date and the time and the place where we're going to connect.
So I just wanted to show you guys that span from right after Rayshard Brooks was murdered, because that is what was happening then. And
that was announced during the protests. Is that
every day in DC, that is what is happening, just as it was in LA, just as it was in many cities and places. And my point in showing it is that is what people were fighting for, was for justice, for Rayshard Brooks, for George Floyd, shutting down the highway, organizing the bike rides through, the hood, as he said, singing civil rights songs, singing, you didn't see all of it, but they were singing other songs along the way, marching. That stream was almost 3 hours long, and they did that every day. I was there for a long time. I would go back all the time. And that is, there are these little spots of hope. Soon after that, it was announced, I don't remember the exact timeline, that the police officer was fired, and that is a little spot of hope. And there's no true justice, especially because the person is dead. Rayshard was murdered, and there's no justice in that, and it keeps happening, and Black people keep getting murdered. So then to have a decision where that little tiny spot of justice is reversed, after people have fought, have marched, have been in the streets, is a real punch in the gut, and is just incredibly disheartening and awful. So that's why I wanted to show that, just kind of what people are fighting for and have been fighting for. And that was a year ago, and here is where we are today. This is CNN. Garrett Rolfe, former Atlanta officer who fatally shot Rayshard Brooks, was wrongfully terminated, board says.
The most in-demand talent.
Sorry if this ad
is more in demand.
Garrett Rolfe, the former Atlanta police officer charged in the fatal shooting of Rayshard Brooks in a Wendy's parking lot, was wrongly terminated, the Atlanta Civil Service Board has ruled. We are very excited that the Civil Board says that due process matters, Lance LaRusso, attorney for Garrett Rolfe, told CNN in a statement. Imagine being that person. How could you be how could you stomach and live with yourself? He added that Rolfe's reinstatement will likely take some time, but he intended to get his client back to work. The Atlanta Police Department, in a statement, said, "It is important to note that the CSB did not make a determination as to whether Officer Rolfe violated Atlanta Police Department policies. In light of the CSB's rulings, APD will conduct an assessment to determine if additional investigative actions are needed." The APD said the decision merely said the firing process was not done in accordance with the Atlanta City Code. APD said Rolfe will remain on administrative leave until the criminal charges against him are resolved. The mayor's office echoed the APD's statement, saying the firing was reversed because it was not in line with city code and that no determination was made on whether Rolfe violated department policy. Yeah, you got to respect that red tape. Yeah. Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, in a statement, said, Given the volatile state of our city and nation last summer, the decision to terminate this officer after he fatally shot Mr. Brooks in the back was the right thing to do. And I think that's a really bad statement.
I
She's
agree.
saying, given the volatile state, no, it was simply the right thing to do because it was the right thing to do.
Police officers are not supposed to be executioners. Can we all get that through our thick skulls?
Right,
America?
exactly.
They're not there to be the judge and the jury on the street. This is state-sponsored executions, and it's absolutely unacceptable. And again, it doesn't even matter if this person is guilty of a crime or not. That's sort of tangential to the point. They're not executioners.
Yep, they don't get to make that decision. That's not their job.
That's not their job.
And, and think of the right wing being able to point to the statement saying, oh, yeah, this is such a bad statement.
Mm-hmm.
Brooks's death 2 weeks after the death of George Floyd while in Minneapolis police custody last May sparked protests across Atlanta, and the city's police chief stepped down less than a day after the shooting. Had immediate action not been taken, I firmly believe that the public safety crisis we experienced during that time would have been significantly worse. She's just like digging in. Brooks's family disappointed and confused. L. Chris Stewart, an attorney for Brooks's family, said the decision reflected a procedural error that has no bearing on whether the shooting was justified or not.
Mm-hmm.
We find it mind-boggling that our elected officials and the former chief weren't aware of the proper procedure to fire an officer, he said. So now it is questions of, was that done to temporarily pacify the protesters and the people around the world that were upset?
And give them a back door to come back? Maybe.
Yeah, right?
That's a fair theory.
It is. Yep. Jeez.
Yeah, how do they not know better? They must. That's like saying they don't know what Miranda rights are.
Yeah. Yep. That's really sketchy. Absolutely.
That's sketchy.
Stewart said members of Brooks's family are disappointed and confused by the board's decision, particularly since the criminal case against the officer has been bogged down in the courts.
Mm-hmm.
It appears that Rayshard Brooks's life didn't really matter and that the world has moved on, said Stewart, adding that Rolfe has received more justice than the Brooks's family. Yeah, that's true. Justin Miller, another attorney for the family, said, "You have a person who is going to stand trial for murder who is now back on the force and able to do the same things he was doing before." The Atlanta Civil Service Board, in an order signed Wednesday, cited a number of issues with what it said was the city's failure to comply with its own code as a reason for overriding the decision to fire Rolfe. In testimony heard in late April, an Atlanta police veteran testified that the dismissal seemed rushed and sufficient time was not provided for the appellant to submit a response. It's, this... If you guys want to read this whole thing, it's in the Wakelet. I just don't. It's expected, unfortunately, that this happened. It's disgusting and horrible, and people can't give up, like we keep saying this week.
Right.
But it's disheartening. It's really, really disheartening.
It's one step forward and 10 steps back every time, right?
Exactly.
What's really tragic is all of these things, it's this case with economic policy too, right? It's not just criminal justice reform. Like anything that benefits the people and not the plutonymy is this way. One step forward and 10 steps back. And it's because they do have more power. They do have more wealth. But we do have numbers, so eventually we will prevail because we have numbers. But it takes all of the numbers being involved, right? Not just a small percentage of them. And right now, there's just not a large enough group standing up.
Yeah. Okay, so the last story that I want to cover, we'll keep up to date on what's happening in that case. I'm hopeful that it does end with justice for Rayshard. Also, I do have some additional updates for you that I'll give you tomorrow for the Marvin Scott III case. The organizers there are pushing for additional information from the powers that be, and they're not receiving it, which I think is an update in and of itself. We also have, you guys have probably seen him around, Ryan from Ohio, who's often in the chat. I haven't seen him today, but he has a channel. You guys should check it out here on YouTube, Ryan from Ohio. But he has gotten his hands on some body cam footage. So I'm going to go through some of that he has. It's already up, so you guys can go through it too. But he's found some, white supremacist, tattoos and things like that, and just some disgusting things. So
I need to know who this Ryan is. He's my people.
Yeah, you would definitely be interested in that. You should definitely get in touch with him. Yes, Silence is Violence.
I want to go through his. What is his channel? I want to go through his footage.
It's literally Ryan from Ohio, okay. And I can forward you his contact. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. I'll let him know that you're interested. But yeah, so I'm gonna go through that. He's been doing a great job on the ground there in Ohio, and for sure, gonna highlight some of that. He said we're welcome to here on the channel. So a lot of updates here on the front of police murdering Black people and people struggling to hold them accountable. But thankfully there are people that are doing the work, who are making sure that they don't just get away with it. Yeah, Silence is Violence, literally Ryan from Ohio. Like that. Yeah. So the last story for today is, unfortunately, there was another school shooting, and not just another school shooting, but another middle school shooting. So, and not only was there a middle school shooting, but there was an additional middle school shooting scare today. So I think it was just a couple weeks ago, there was yet another middle school shooting. So I wanted to cover this just to highlight that this is an ongoing problem in our country, and we should not stop pushing for change. As I always say when we cover stuff like this, I thought that this, back when I was in, I'll try to find it. Silence is Violence. I might have gotten.
Climbed as investors awaited tomorrow's highly anticipated jobs report.
Sorry.
Just to gauge
you guys don't need to know the weather in.
The Dow up today.
Oh my gosh! Go away, weather guy. Sorry, I don't know why. I don't know how to make the weather guy stop.
Buy a new car this summer. You can expect to pay more.
What's
and
happening?
Maybe not find as many models to pick from. ABC's Gio Benitez reports on what's causing this and what to know before heading to the dealership.
I don't know how to make these people
This morning,
stop
car
talking.
experts are sounding
so
the alarm.
sorry.
Anyone in the market for a good deal on a new car
Oh my
might be out of
gosh.
luck.
We're
Who
seeing a
is
highest
talking
share
about
ever
cars?
of consumers actually just paying.
Okay,
That's
I'm gonna have to
playing
look up
somewhere
another.
back.
Unheard of.
Edmonds,
I've had this happen where the ad just keeps playing. It's very annoying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone.
Time to get off Chrome. Can we get you off Chrome? I agree with Silence is Violence.
Oh my lordy!
You guys help me out with this. I've been lecturing Jen on this for almost a year. Please help me out here.
Oh my gosh. April Shadows, Jen, you remind me of my sister. That's nice. I've had one of my good friends from college used to say I reminded them that I reminded them of their sister. Yes, it is Ryan, Ohio protest. Thank you. You guys keep me straight. As you know, my long hauler COVID has melted my brain beyond recognition. So I need you guys to keep me on the straight.
Then
Okay.
Get off Chrome.
I know. Yes, and Twitchers, thank you very much. Okay, so this is a really sad story. And as I always say when we cover school shooter stories, when I was in high school in what year? I guess 1999 was that, Columbine. I thought
I was a grad student at university.
I thought that would be, that would be the only one. I don't know. There is probably, that was the one that was in my consciousness as in school. I don't remember ones before then. But that was the one that stuck out in my mind. And I think a lot of people's minds. It was absolutely horrific. And then, fast forward as an adult, the one that stuck out in my mind as the one that would end it all was Sandy Hook. Yeah. My oldest son was in first grade at that point. That was 2012. And the same time that Sandy Hook, that shooting happened and we all got the notifications, my son's elementary school was shut down because they got a threat called in at the same time. So I was freaking out,
Yeah, that's scary.
We were trying to get, the parents were trying to get in, we were lining up, and it was very, very scary. And we all thought, if it's going to be something that will change this, it's going to be the murder of 6 and 7-year-olds, and 26 people died, and
apparently
nothing
not.
changed. Nothing changed.
Apparently not.
So obviously since then we've had
failed state.
It really is. We've had many
acceptable to a society. It's still beyond the pale to me. That's almost a decade ago. Absolutely nothing's improved or changed.
No, nothing.
Nothing. Structural change. Again, no structural change. The only structural change that ever happens in the United States is structural change that benefits the wealthy elites. End of story.
Exactly.
That is the only change. And it keeps just extracting more from everybody else.
Exactly. It hasn't changed. Nothing has changed. Nothing has improved. And, even beyond school shootings, you have, Stephen Paddock, Vegas. You have you have Orlando. You have so many. There's so many to list.
The borderline one we had here in California. Stephen Patience.
Hi, Pasha. Yeah, you have so many shootings, and there are so many mass shootings all the time. And here we could report on this every single day. We could report on mass shootings every single day because they happen all the time. Yeah. So today, this happened. Today we had at Rigby Middle School, 3 injured after active shooter incident at Rigby Middle School. So this is in Idaho. 3 people were shot at a middle school in Rigby on Thursday, according to East Idaho News. Jefferson County Sheriff Steve Anderson confirmed with East Idaho News that 2 of the injured were students and another was an adult custodian. The injuries, thankfully, do not appear to be critical. 1 male student is in custody. Idaho Falls Fire Department spokesman Carrie Hammond also confirmed that 3 people are being transported by ambulance to the hospital. I thought the other one said it was female.
Which other? Another report?
Sheriff, girl shoots 3 at Rigby Middle School. Teacher disarms her. I'm just confused. Okay, so we have conflicting reports.
That's often the case at the start, but that should be clarified by now.
Yeah. Okay, very
Let's make sure we get the right facts on that, yeah.
Let me look at this East Idaho News one. Oh, here we go. Oh, it is. Okay, so a female student. Okay. So let's go with this report. Okay, Jefferson County Sheriff Steve Anderson and Jefferson County School District Superintendent Chad Martin will hold a news conference at 4 p.m. Okay. Initial reports given to eastidahonews.com by law enforcement identified the suspect as male. However, since then, multiple sources have said that information is incorrect, and identified the suspect as a female student, which is actually very unusual.
Very. Wow.
Rigby Middle School student, 6th grader Lucy Long, retraced the ordeal to idahoednew.org. She said she heard gunshots near, I don't understand what that means. She said she heard gunshots near her classroom around 9 a.m., followed by loud bangs on, they had a typo. Idaho, what? I'm sorry, this is very poorly written, so I'm trying to decipher what they're talking about. She said she heard gunshots near her classroom around 9 a.m., followed by loud bangs on the door. Someone locked the door and turned out the lights while students hid against the wall. Long, who flashed an audio recording of the ordeal, hoped to capture some of what happened inside the classroom, so police, teachers, and parents would know what happened if something bad happened. Mm-hmm. More information about the suspect is expected to be released later this afternoon. 3 people were shot at Rigby Middle School on Thursday afternoon. 2 of the injured people are students. 1 was an adult custodian. The injuries do not appear to be critical. It is not exactly clear what happened. However, the school district did confirm it was an active shooter situation. Let's see. The middle school students were evacuated to Rigby High School, where parents have been picking them up. Again, I always say I cannot imagine being one of those parents who go to the location where you're supposed to pick your child up and you don't know if they're going to be there, because you don't know if your child is one of the ones who have either been killed, which is thankfully not the case in this situation, but in other school shooting, incidences, that is the case. Mm-hmm. Rigby Middle School has about 1,500 students in 6th through 8th grades, according to the National Center for Education Statistics. So at that time, there were many students still at the school. Let's see. Students who are not picked up were bused home. Of course, the governor was praying.
Can we stop it with the prayers? Can I tell you that I've gotten to the point where every time I hear hope and prayers, I'm like, can we just stop with that? That's not solving anything.
Right.
It's just a response constantly, blanket response to stuff, and it doesn't mean anything. What this country actually needs is structural change.
Exactly.
And I don't, we can have those questions. How do we fix the gun problem in this country?
Right.
I don't have an actual solution to this at this point, to be honest with you. I see people discussing this in the chat. There's a reason. I'm not ready to tell other people that they have to disarm because the police have arms, right? I'm not going to tell Black or brown folks that they're not also entitled to defend themselves if they feel they need to do that. So, right. And I know that sentiment makes a lot of liberals uncomfortable, but it is what I think is the case. So right. I'm not the person that's going to adamantly say, no, guns are all bad. Get rid of all the guns, ban them. I'm not going to do it. I don't think you can at this point safely for everybody. Unless, of course, you disarm the police, and that's never going to happen.
Right.
Now, of course, other people are going to listen to me say this and suggest that I'm telling people they should take up arms against the cops. I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying I understand the problem. But right. On the flip side, do I think you can go after gun manufacturers? I don't think you can successfully. I understand the argument. I'm not saying it's a poor argument. I just don't know that that's going to stand in a court of law in the United States. I mean, can you sue a shoe manufacturer if somebody takes the shoe and stabs you in the eye with the stiletto heel? No, they're going to blame the person that's they're just saying, like, we just sold the product. I do think it's different with guns because guns are solely meant to kill people. There is no other use for them. That's their design. They're weapons of murder. But I just think in the United States, you'd have a hard time with that. So I'm not sure that's a solution. There's this other solution about having liability attached to gun ownership, right? So in the same way with your motor vehicle. So the liability for the car follows the owner, not the driver per se, the way the insurance does, right? So whoever is driving the car is insured with that insurance policy that's attached to the car. So if you do that with guns, so if somebody steals your gun or if you let somebody else take your gun, you don't lock your gun up properly, there's liability attached to that. That seems to have a little bit more legs, so to speak, I think, as far as maybe being able to successfully get somewhere. But I just honestly, I'm being honest with you, I don't know what the solution is. I just can't believe, though, that we can't come up with one.
Yeah, I completely agree. I also think, completely getting rid of guns is not what I'm calling for. I don't know. I don't
Somebody's saying, Jen, it's okay to use Chrome. No, it's not.
I don't have my mind wrapped around, even my own sort of philosophy on guns, and my thoughts have even changed
right
over the past little while. But I do know that we don't need Armalite rifles in the hands of everybody or whoever wants or whatever. And I know that we don't need loopholes, and I know that we do need better background checks. And I do know that it's a real, there are a lot of things that we could do and we don't do. And it's, there are things that we could definitely do, like that middle school girl. Why does she have access to a gun?
We'll find out, I guess, in a few days. But generally speaking, most of these guns are legal guns. So it's not, the idea that these are illegal guns is a false one. Most of the time, they are absolutely legal. The problem is nobody has liability attached to their firearm. They really don't. So if I leave my gun lying around and somebody takes it and kills somebody with it, I have absolutely no liability for that, which makes no sense to me. I own this weapon of destruction. I should have some level of accountability for it, in my opinion. But right now, that's not how it is. So, or if you're a parent, why aren't you keeping your guns locked up in a gun safe? I mean,
yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely things we can be doing. I don't know what the absolute, I don't have a hardline solution to any of these things. I'm not committed to any one personal idea of how we correct the problem. I think it's complex, but the idea that we can't do anything is just absolutely absurd to me. Of course we can.
Yeah.
And of course we should.
Right. We should. And I even think, people blame the Republicans, which they absolutely have a lot of blame.
100%,
but also we can put a lot of blame on the Democrats as well, because they're not.
I agree.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't think there's an innocent player in this conversation at all.
No, not at all. The First Steve Barrett, $5. Jen, it's okay to use Chrome. Thank you, the First Steve Barrett. I know it's hard. It's hard to break away. Al Walski, $11. Thanks, Jen, for your dogged persistence. Thank you, Al. Good old friend Al Walski. I appreciate you. Yeah, we got a shout out for Firefox. Firefox isn't so bad, right?
Yeah, Firefox. Use Firefox. Just get off of Google, period. No Chrome.
Yeah.
Here, let me tell you. So we have a story that I'm working on that'll be probably out next week. So if you are, especially if you're an activist and you're listening to this, I'm talking to you particularly right now. If you are engaged in any sort of organizing and you want to keep that data private, and you do want to keep that data private, you can't do it if you're using a company like Google or Facebook or things of this nature. So I did an interview with an activist who has been served with DOJ subpoenas, and how he found out about it prior to everything else was Twitter. Twitter actually sent him an email saying, we've received a subpoena from the Department of Justice. We're not going to comply with it without talking to you first and giving you an opportunity to quash it. Do you think you're going to get that same response from YouTube, Google, or from Facebook? You're not. So there's very few companies that will stand up against these things. They just turn your data over. Right. Apple's one of them. Apple's not going to either. So, which is why I say get an iPhone. Now, I'm not saying that any of these companies are perfect. I'm not saying that. Twitter has its own problems. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying at least be clear on where you have a more opportunity to protect yourself.
I've been very impressed with Apple's more recent like stances on privacy. So I have to say that for sure. Warrior Waitress, $5 in the super chat. Thank you. Oregon just passed criminal penalties for not properly locking up or storing your gun. That's good. That's a good step.
That's a step in the right direction. I just think, honestly, if people have accountability or liability for their weapons, I think they're going to think twice about not really paying attention if that's what's really going on. I mean, I'm not saying that's the case with every single one of these mass shootings, but in some instances it is. And certainly in Sandy Hook, why was that kid able to take his those weapons? Why weren't they kept under lock?
Right.
That could have been prevented, right?
Right.
I would never leave a gun lying around for anyone to access and take. But that's just because I have, a cognizant idea of like, that's a weapon of destruction. It could kill somebody. I don't want to be ultimately responsible if it does.
Yeah.
Where other people just don't seem to care. They just leave guns lying around everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
Which is crazy. Arsenals, literal arsenals. Like, as you know, I dig into some of these 3%ers accounts. I see photos where these guys have 300 guns locked, loaded, ready to go, and completely open. Anybody could come in there and take these guns and use them for whatever. Like, how is that responsible?
Yeah. Nuts. Mad World 1962, $5 Canadian. Thank you for another super chat. Canadians have guns mostly
Henry wants a Tommy gun.
Canadians have guns mostly for hunting, but don't live in abject fear of every other human. Canada has a lot of things right that we do not. Are
the police armed in Canada? Does anyone know? I would be curious to have. Because here's the situation: in a lot of other countries, the police are not armed. They don't carry guns, and I think people need to realize that. That makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
I mean, we've upped. Of course, they say they have to up the firearm poundage on their side because the criminals have more guns. Like there's this back and forth zero-sum game that's happening between these folks that are at odds. But I mean, half of the time we're lunatics.
Yeah, I just wanted to put this up because it's funny. I want to know why am I a lunatic, James? I'm curious.
I don't know. Is he serious or being facetious?
No, I think he's probably a gun person.
Okay, but I'm not. Okay, so then talk to me, James. Nobody's saying you can't have a firearm here. How are we not being? I don't understand anybody saying that to me. Really, you don't think you should be responsible for your gun? You think anybody should have access to it and should be able to murder people with it? If that's the case, then you're the lunatic, not me. That's insane.
There was one more thing that I want. Where did it go? Oh shoot. There's one more thing that I wanted to show, but it disappeared. Shoot. Yeah, James, tell us why we're lunatics.
James is not saying anything.
I'm super curious. Maybe we were so such lunatics that he couldn't handle us anymore. Okay, so
I'll hear him out. I will often talk to people I don't agree with just to hear what they have to say. Convince me I'm wrong. Please do.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly. Okay, so I wanted to share this just to kind of highlight how scary and horrifying this is to go through for people. And these are, think of middle school. Middle school is 12, 13-year-olds. This is a text. This is a person named John Taylor. This is a text from one of my close friends' son who goes to Rigby Middle School. This has to stop. And the text says, "School shooter, dead serious. I love you a lot, I promise. Oh, never mind. It's a drill. We heard real gunshots. No, it's real. I love you. I love you so much, Mom."
Wow.
Yeah. So
look, no kid should have to live through that. That's absolutely insane. And I'm the lunatic for saying that? You're the lunatic for saying that? Come on now.
Right.
There's an interesting super chat, Jen, that I hear what this person's saying, and that was sort of what I was getting at. I understand why from I think it was April that.
Yeah, April Shadows, $5 in the super chat. We need Medicare for all, housing for all, guaranteed work. We don't need to limit firearms from the people. Black Lives Matter.
So I've had plenty of conversations with BLM activists where they feel strongly in this area, and I 100% understand where they're coming from. I can't argue their points at all. And in fact, it is those conversations that have moved me more towards maybe the Second Amendment. Hypatia's eating my arm right now. She doesn't like what I'm saying, apparently. That have moved towards, that have really... that have moved me towards understanding why the Second Amendment exists, right? I think I was much more about limiting gun ownership previously. So I have moved my position on this. And the reason that position has been moved is because of conversations I've had with Black and brown activists.
Yeah.
They don't feel safe. I get it, man. I get it. I understand that. This is a fair way to feel about a society that treats you this way. So
right. I understand as well. And to be very fair, it is insane white men who typically are these mass shooters. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Or white supremacists like, Dylan Roof.
Yeah.
Anti-Semitic folks, like, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And would those folks be affected in the same way by any sort of limitation laws? Probably not. Let's be honest. Right. I think the fair answer to that is probably not.
I agree. Yeah, I don't think so.
Hypatia's like... Hypatia, do you want to say hi to everybody?
Henry says there's no way that's a puppy.
I know. She's 1 year old now. She's just a big girl. So she's a German Shepherd Greyhound mix. So she's... Jen, you won't recognize her. She is quite a bit bigger than she was when you were here last.
Hypatia. She's so sweet. Love Hypatia.
So anyway, I'm curious to hear other people's thoughts on this gun conversation. If you have them, send me an email, send me a DM on Twitter, because I don't know what the solution is, but I do think we should be doing more to fix this problem, and we certainly can do more. But I think it's a discussion that needs to be had on the left. I think the right side is clear on where they stand. The right's like guns everybody, like everybody shoot everybody up, no safety mechanisms, right? So really the conversation that needs to happen on the left, I think.
Yeah. April Shadows, $5 in the super chat. Grab a 22 LR rifle. It's an LR rifle, and try some target practice. It's fun as heck. This is an LR, like a long rifle.
I'm not sure.
I've shot at targets.
I've shot at targets too. So the first time you do that, it is kind of like a shock. I have to be honest. If you have never shot a gun before, you're like, wow, what just happened?
Yeah.
At least that's what it was. It was that way for me.
I just say I don't like it. I don't.
Yeah, I don't either, just because I'm the kind of person that I'm not sure that I would, even if somebody was attacking me, I'm not sure that I would be able to defend myself properly with a firearm. I think it would be hard for me to do that. Maybe not. Maybe in the moment you've got your adrenaline going.
In the moment. I'm saying I don't know how to properly.
Oh, okay.
In the moment, like I would probably but I don't know. It's hard. It's a scary thing.
It's hard.
But as far as like enjoying target shooting, I don't. Because my husband does, like his family does target shooting, but I don't like it. but I'm fine with other people enjoying it. Like that's fine.
I guess my stance on this whole thing is if we're going to disarm, we need to disarm the police as well, honestly. And can you imagine the uproar that statement makes in America? I can't wait till all the right-wingers grab that clip and just go to town with it. But sorry. In other countries, they're not armed.
Yeah.
It's one thing to say we're going to take all the firearms away from all the people and we're going to leave the police armed. Is that really, that doesn't seem right. I think if we're going to de-arm, we need to de-arm. I would be okay with that.
I don't think
I think
that
I
will
would be at least.
Ever happen. We're a little too far gone.
All right, okay. I'm just spitballing here, folks.
All right, guys.
I'm just saying I understand all sides of this very complex argument, and it's not simple.
We should tell them what guests we have tomorrow.
Oh yeah, so tomorrow, Doc, please make sure you guys tune in tomorrow with your questions about science, about vaccinations, and things of this nature. We'll be speaking with Dr. Pope. So Dr. Pope, how I met Dr. Pope is we've had this group that's been traveling around and harassing people about not wearing masks. They're saying that making people wear masks. I literally have video of one of them saying that wearing a mask is like the second Holocaust. That's how crazy these folks are. But they had the audacity to go to a grammar school last week, a grammar school. So these are young kids, and harass the students there. And so Dr. Pope, who has a daughter that attends the school, tried to talk some sense into these folks. He did so in a very calm and deliberate fashion. It was quite impressive, actually. So I thought I'd reach out to him and see if he would come on Status Coup to talk about debunking some of the problems that he's been trying to address in his practice, out on the streets, talking to people, et cetera. So if you have any questions about, messenger RNA and some of these other things, we are bringing an expert on to talk about that stuff, because that's the right thing to do.
And that's 5:30 Eastern, right?
Yeah. He'll be on at 2:30. So 5:30 each. 2:30 my time, 2:30 LA time, 5:30 Eastern time.
Yeah. So that'll be a great discussion. Definitely join us for sure. And thanks for joining us today, despite all of the suppression that we are undergoing. Shantendo on Twitch, does Status Coup follow any of the news on science organizations warning about the growing threat of nuclear war, or not really? I have to say I have not.
No. Wait, that's interesting. Growing threat of nuclear war. Okay. I'd be interested to hear about it.
Yeah, I'm interested. Probably add another thing for me to be scared of to my list. Oops, I did not mean to click on that, but sure, now we know about whatever that is. Okay, so
my crab. Wait, what? My crabs.
I don't know. Okay, so don't forget that we are being massively, suppressed is one word.
I mean, normally we would have 700-800 live viewers. Normally, that's what it would show. So clearly we are.
Right.
That's wow.
And also that YouTube is taking down our video and calling us cyber bullies and all of that. If you are able
no more cyber bullying the police.
Insane. If you're able to help us at all, please head on over to gofundme.com/status coup, and it will be a great help, because YouTube is, as you can see by the deleted video, which just simply shows great reporting, interviews with Breonna Taylor's family, interviews with sitting members of Congress like Ilhan Omar, and etc. Then you can help us out at any amount, $5, $10, whatever it is. It helps us out. It helps us beat YouTube. GoFundMe.com/status coup, and definitely join us tomorrow. And if you can, head on over to Twitter and retweet Jordan's tweet. I'll show you that right now so that more people know what's going on. More people need to know what YouTube is doing, because they've lost it. Whoops. You can tell that my brain is melting because I can hardly type or do anything right now. Ay. What a heart. Oh, you can see Tina in her hat from yesterday.
Yeah.
So retweet this tweet. I'm going to put it in the chat boxes. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys tomorrow for the great interviews and stuff like that. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.